They thought he wanted the food. He wasn't looking at the food, he was looking at what the food was doing to the baby. The first time Archie blocked the high chair, Meredith thought it was greed. Archie was a 6-year-old golden retriever, amber gold, 78 pounds, with the particular food motivation that most Goldens carry like a second personality. He had always been interested in meal times. He had always positioned himself near any eating surface in the house with the patient optimism of someone who believes eventually the math will work out in his favor. So, when Meredith introduced sweet potato puree to their 10-month-old son, Elliot, on a Thursday afternoon, and Archie moved from his place near the window to stand directly beside the high chair tray with unusual intensity. She noted it and moved him back. Food interest. Typical. She thought about it again 5 seconds later because the way Archie was positioned was not the way he positioned himself near food. When Archie wanted food, he watched the food. He was not watching the food. His nose was directed at Elliot's face. He was reading the air above the child's mouth. She noted this differently, filed it as something to watch. She introduced sweet potato again Saturday. The same thing happened before the first spoonful was finished. Archie materialized at the high chair with a directness that was not about the tray at all. He nosed toward Elliot's face, backed away, returned. Positioned himself between Meredith and the tray as if he was trying to interrupt the process. Meredith moved him away. Elliot finished the sweet potato without incident. His cheeks were a bit red. She made a note about possible eczema and moved on. The third feeding, Monday, was different. Meredith had made a mixed vegetable puree. Sweet potato, carrot, a small amount of butternut squash. She was 2 spoons in when Archie entered the kitchen from the back room where he had been sleeping. He crossed the kitchen floor at a pace she had not seen from him in 3 years, and placed himself directly against the high chair with his full weight, ears forward, body blocking, refusing to move. He wasn't growling. He wasn't snapping. He was simply a 78-pound immovable argument between the spoon and the baby. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Meredith's husband, Joel, was home that evening. She described what had happened. He listened, and he said the thing that felt right to say. Resource guarding, possibly the high chair becoming a contested space, possibly the dog associating that zone with high-value food proximity. Joel's sister had a dog with resource guarding. It followed exactly this profile. They agreed to speak to a behaviorist. But that night, at 2 a.m, Meredith woke to Archie standing on Joel's side of the bed, pressing his face against Joel's arm. Not scratching, pressing. Joel woke up and Archie moved toward the door, looked back, returned to Joel, moved toward the door again. They found Elliot in his crib. He was flushed. More than eczema flush generalized, reaching up toward his ears. His breathing was slightly audible, a sound that shouldn't be there. His eyes were open but glassy. They called 911 on the way to the car. Dr. Fiona Castellano, pediatric emergency, assessed Elliot within 7 minutes of arrival and described what she found as an evolving anaphylactic response, in a stage before respiratory compromise, but progressing toward it. Elliot had a severe allergy to butternut squash, a compound sensitivity that would not have appeared in standard screening because it had not yet produced a response strong enough to measure. The compound in butternut squash triggering his immune response had been building through 3 exposures. Monday's mixed puree had been the accumulation point. She administered epinephrine. She ordered monitoring. She sat across from Meredith and Joel at 4 a.m. and told them their son was stable and that had they arrived 30 minutes later, she would be using different language right now. Has your dog ever done something you couldn't explain until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Allergen detection dogs are trained to identify specific proteins associated with the foods their handlers react to. They work by identifying the volatile organic compounds those proteins emit in trace concentrations. Archie had no training. Archie had months of proximity to Elliot's normal chemistry, and he had detected when that chemistry changed. The first exposure, he had moved. The second he had watched. The third he had placed his body between the spoon and the baby with every pound he had. In the kitchen, he had been detecting an allergen response building in real time. At 2 in the morning, he had been detecting that the response had not stopped. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Elliot came home with an emergency epinephrine kit, a list of avoided compounds, and a new understanding of every vegetable puree in the house. Archie was asleep in the living room. When Elliot was set in the bouncy chair near the window, Archie raised his head, looked at the baby for a long moment, and returned to sleep. Whatever he had been tracking through 3 mealtimes and 1 night, it was no longer in the air. Joel sat on the kitchen floor for a while. He thought about the high chair, about the block, about the word behavioral and how confident he had been saying it. Archie opened one eye from across the room, looked at him, and closed it again. The next story is about a husky who wouldn't stop nuzzling a baby on a couch, and what a carbon monoxide technician found in the wall behind them an hour later.